My name is Sydney Wisniewski, and for this project I am analyzing data on drug use and abuse in the United States. Abstraction is important when dealing with data in order to understand what you're looking at. Abstraction helps you to look at the data and see how it relates to the real world. My dataset, called Drugs, was created for a NSDUH study. The study collected data pertaining to cocaine, tobacco, marijuana, and alcohol for 3 different age groups: 12 to 17-year-olds, 18 to 25-year-olds, and 26-year-olds and older. It gathers data from 2002 to 2014 for the 50 states. To the right, we can see the structure of the data. There was a lot more information in the dataset, but I just included the structure of the data that I'm using. The first question I asked was, which state has the highest average rate of illicit drug abuse in the past year in 12 to 17-year-olds? I analyzed this data by using a bar graph. This visualization answers the question because it allows you to easily compare the rate of each of the states to each other. This visualization allows us to answer the question and then say that New Mexico has the highest average rate of illicit drug abuse in minors. These next couple of slides are the code I used to create this visualization. It's quite long because I used 3 different variables for each state to calculate the average rate. So that is 150 variables that I used. So there are some limitations of this data set in answering this question. There is no data for Arizona or Wisconsin, which possibly could have the highest rate. Also, the data is only from 2002 to 2014, so more recent years are not accounted for, which again, these could have skewed the average rate of consumption. This is an important question to ask because it allows drug abuse groups and the government to see the issue of drug abuse in minors, where drug abuse in minors is most prevalent. This can help agencies to see where they should allocate more of their resources. So the second question I asked was, is there a correlation between alcohol abuse and illicit drug abuse in Pennsylvania? The scatter plot attempts to answer this question of correlation between drug abuse and alcohol abuse. It does this by graphing the rate of alcohol abuse versus drug abuse each year in Pennsylvania. The graph shows that there does seem to be a correlation. There's an increase in alcohol abuse when there's an increase in drug abuse. This trend seems to end at about 26% rate for drug abuse, where alcohol abuse at that point seems to plateau. So this slide contains the code I used to create this visualization. It's much shorter and simpler than the last code because I'm only looking at one state versus all 50. So again, there are limitations that this data has for answering this question. Again, there's only data from 2002 to 2014, so current rates cannot be accounted for. Another limitation is that this rate is probably not completely accurate. People may have lied about their drug and alcohol consumption when they were asked the question during the study. The results of this question show that there does seem to be a correlation between alcohol abuse and drug abuse. It's possible that maybe if alcohol abuse can be managed or stopped, then maybe drug abuse can be decreased. So the third question I asked was, what demographic has the highest average rate of marijuana consumption in the past year in Pennsylvania? The visualization used to answer this question is a pie chart. We can see which demographic has the highest average rate of marijuana consumption by looking to see what portion is the largest on the pie chart. We can see that 18 to 25-year-olds have the highest marijuana consumption rate at 60.1%. So this slide contains the code that I used to create the visualization. Again, it's shorter because I'm only looking at Pennsylvania. So once again, this data set has limitations. One limitation of this data set is that the only years available are 2002 to 2014. Again, another limitation is that we cannot get more accurate demographics. The data set only separates the age groups into 3 groups, one of which is 26 years old and older, which is a huge age group. So from that point on, we can get more accurate rates of consumption per age group. This question was important to ask because it shows where the most marijuana consumption is for age groups. It allows agencies to target the most at-risk groups, and it will allow agencies to become more efficient and effective. So the questions that were asked about this data set are important. They allow the community and organizations about drug abuse and see who's most affected by drug abuse. This can help give aid to the people who need it most.